Narraesthetics is developing an interactive adaptation of The Little Match Girl. We're approaching game design from a narrative perspective, and we've decided to record it all and share it with you. Okay, so I'm going to start with two questions that I got from two people, Oran, and Andrew. Thank you for commenting, by the way. So Andrew had recommended that we introduce the mechanic of selling matches with the player actually being able to sell matches first so that they understand that they can do it, and later on start failing, and that way they understand more that they can actually do this, they just haven't done it yet. And yes, we are actually going to do that. We have a small introductory period where the player meets one person that they can sell a match to. The problem is that I didn't really want the player to actually sell any matches, so how I designed this is a bit weird. The player will meet a homeless man on the street, and here they will learn two things. They will learn that they can sell matches and that they can start small fires every now and then to warm themselves up. So the player gets to the homeless man, and just like any pedestrian, the little micro game pops up, but the green section is a little bit bigger, and the player can sell the match at this time. The homeless man, however, pays $0 for the match, and they still get the match, and the player still loses the match to that person. Now, hopefully, what I'm trying to do with this is I'm trying to make money not something that the player wants to get. I want the player to understand that they just need to sell the matches and that it's a thing that they need to do, but I don't want them to actually want to do it, if that makes any sense. When I first decided to just start this game, I was thinking, you know what, let's have the player be hungry. We'll add like a hunger meter or something like that, and basically they would need to sell matches to get some food. So that motivates the player to go and try selling the matches to people. And the thing is, they would never be able to sell any matches, never get the food, and blah blah blah. The thing is, I didn't want the player to be interested in money, because the little match girl in the narrative is never interested in money. She's doing the task because she has to do it. I thought money would make the player think that they can use the money for something else later on, and then have a desire to keep trying to sell matches. But I don't really want the player to want to sell matches for themselves. I want the player to feel like they have to sell matches, which is a really funny thing. It's usually not that kind of thing inside of a game. Usually you want the player to do things for themselves. How the player feels about that, may not be very good, but that's what I'm going for is a parallel rather than trying to make the player feel good. There's a difference between making a game for the player and making a game for the narrative. I'm trying to create a feeling within the player and not exactly make the player want to continue to play the game. That sounds really weird, but in order to tell a specific story through interactive media, I want the player to feel certain emotions and certain feelings and stuff like that. Hopefully it'll work. I don't know if it will work if the player needs other motivations to keep going or something like that. Maybe they need something like a power fantasy, or maybe they need good fun mechanics or something like that. I don't know. This is why we do this, but we're gonna see if it works, and basically we just want to tell a narrative, put the player in these weird situations, and just see how they feel. One of the games that this kind of reminds me of a little bit is this game called Mainichi, and I don't know if I'm saying that right. You're playing a transgender person, and you just basically go and live their life. The decisions that you make in the game don't really have an effect on the story per se. It's learning how people treat a transgender person depending on the things that they do. It makes you feel kind of weird, but that's the point of the whole thing. There's another game called Depression Quest that does something like this, where they make the player feel like they can't do things that a normal person would do. Is to make the player understand how depressed people can go through these choices and make decisions like these. So in that essence, I am trying to tell a very specific story, trying to make the player feel certain things. So to motivate the player with certain mechanics that feel fun or feel good is not really something that is part of the story, at least at this moment. Thank you, Andrew, for the question. Oren, you also had another question, or Oran, said something about frustration. And basically, yeah, the mechanics right now will indeed make the player frustrated, and that's pretty much inevitable when failure is over and over and over and over. So I haven't got this completely figured out, but I'm hoping that the player's failure over and over and over will make them not want to return home because of what they know is going to happen. So basically, I'm trying to build fear in the player by making them frustrated that this whole thing is not happening for them. They can't sell matches, and that's building up anxiety for the player that they don't want to return home yet. And so if they choose not to return home later on, then that's when the end happened. I mentioned in one of my previous episodes that I was trying to make the player choose death over life, and really that's not happening in the story at all. The little match girl is never choosing death. She is saying that she doesn't want to go home, and she's just choosing not the safe option. So basically she doesn't know she's going to die, but she just doesn't want to go home. So that's what I'm trying to do with the player in this sense. I want the player to choose not to go home, and they just don't know what's going to happen next. Maybe they'll sell more matches, maybe they can stay overnight on the streets. They don't know. That is what will lead to our ending scene that I'll go over in another episode, because it's an interesting idea. Thank you guys for the questions. It's really helpful to have an outside perspective on some of these things, and I really hope that I can keep getting those, so keep sending me questions. Next time we'll look at the ending and how I'm trying to merge this mechanical sense of agency and stuff like that. Real quick, something I wanted to mention was that these episodes come out every Monday and Friday. Come out by midnight every Monday and Friday, so whatever that means. My name is Devon. This is Narraesthetics, episode 6. I'll see you next time.